What's going on, everyone? In today we are looking at the Thursday night football picks for Week 10. This is between the Titans and the Colts in Tennessee this week. So let's get started. Monday night showdown was great, thanks to Richard Perriman, who was part of the cores on both sides, and he had 2 touchdowns, including a 50-yarder. So keep it going this tonight. So as always, appreciate you guys hit the like button on the video, subscribe if you haven't already. Try to clear 100 likes on the video. If you want to join us for tonight or for the rest of the season, you can visit the website. That link is in the description if you wanted to follow on Twitter at the DFS Process or check out Thrive Fantasy. That info is in the description as well. So, yeah, without further ado, let's get into it. There's a lot to talk about on the Colts side specifically, especially with what they're doing at the running back situation. The last couple weeks, they're playing 3 guys a lot. So it's going to be interesting to talk about that. The Titans side, it's a little bit more easy to figure out. It's mainly 3-4 guys that get a lot of involvement in the offense. So we'll just go by pricing and go by everybody that I think will be somebody to consider tonight. So at the top is Ryan Tannehill is 16-8, and the captain spot he's 11-2 in flex. He has been having a really good season, 19 touchdowns, just 3 interceptions. He has last couple of weeks just been kind of game managing, not doing a ton, not having to do a ton in terms of passing. They really rely on Henry to run the ball like 25 to 30 times a game. So most times than not, he's going to be Tannehill's not going to have to throw like 40, 50 times a game, but he does a really good job of not making mistakes, just doing his job, and it's kind of keeping the offense going. Now tonight's going to be a pretty tough task against this Colts defense, but last week he was fine against a Bears defense. Good. He's been good against a Pittsburgh defense, which has been very tough this season. So not too worried about it. I think between Tannehill and Henry, I think Henry's the one that you can have to be a little bit more concerned about, just because his floor is, as you see, his floor is definitely lower in a spot like this where Bears have a really good rush defense. Last 2 weeks, he doesn't even have a single catch, so he's not getting you any upside really in receiving. You need everything to come on the ground, and it's a really tough rush defense by the Colts. They're top 5 in that department. They don't give up very many yards per game. They're best in the NFL in that department. I don't see Henry breaking off monster runs. What you need is for him to get into the end zone multiple times, and I just don't know if that will happen or happen tonight against a very good defense that I respect. So I think I'd rather go to A.J. Brown just because I think Brown has a higher ceiling in this type of matchup. He's really come alive as of late. He has touchdowns in like 5 or 6 straight games. 5 straight games, and he has 6 touchdowns in his last 5 games. So he's just been coming alive after he missed a couple weeks due to some sort of injury in the beginning of the season. Week 1 just was kind of okay, but he hasn't only dropped below like 15 fantasy points once after he's come back from injury, and that was against the Bengals, which they really relied on. Henry had a huge game in that game. So in a week where Henry could be, his skill set is going to be kind of tough to capitalize, I think, and go for like 30 fantasy points. I think A.J. Brown is going to be a really big factor. He's gotten some big catches last couple weeks. He's been a huge factor in the red zone, so I think he looks like a really top play to potentially play at captain if you wanted to, or definitely pair him with Tannehill. Philip Rivers, speaking of game manager, he has just been relying on his running game. He has 10 touchdown passes. 6 of them have come in the last 2 weeks, but it's always interesting. On full slates, nobody ever considers playing Philip Rivers just because his ceiling and floor are so volatile. But on a showdown slate, he's definitely going to get interest. I think he looks fine. Like the Colts definitely have a better matchup in terms of opposing defense being a lot weaker of the Titans. They give up a lot of passing yards. They give up about a touchdown more per game, give up about 100+ yards more than the Colts defense does. So I think Philip Rivers is going to be in play tonight. The question is who you pair him with. So do a quick look at the Colts running back committee. So week 9, last week, they played 3 guys. None of them got over 35% of the snaps. You got Jordan Wilkins, who's come alive the last 2 weeks in terms of snap counts. He played 34%. Hines played 34%. And then Jonathan Taylor, the rookie, played his fewest that he's done in a while and only played 31%. If you look at the pricing, he is the most expensive of that trio. So right off the bat, I'd rather go to Wilkins or Hines just because they kind of moved on from giving I think they moved on from giving Jonathan Taylor a full workload. and I definitely don't want to pay that much if he's just going to get you barely over 30% of the snaps. A similar situation was in Week 8, where Wilkins played 50% of the snaps, Taylor played just 34, and Hines played 21. So seems like Wilkins might be the guy that's getting a lot more work than obviously he's getting a lot more work than he did earlier in the season, and I think he could definitely play him. He's the cheapest of the three as well, so Wilkins is a guy that I'm interested in. And then in terms of pass catchers on the Colts, T.Y. Hilton will be back tonight, although who knows if that's going to make much of a difference. He hasn't been having he's been having a downright awful season, but last week they had Johnson, Pittman, and Pascal have to play quite a bit because of Hilton missing. Now Hilton coming back is probably going to bump maybe Johnson out, and then they'll probably run a lot more with Pittman and Pascal. I think Johnson will still play him, and Pittman might split the fourth wide receiver duties or the third wide receiver duties. But I think Hilton is still a guy I would kind of consider just because he's only 5,800 in the flex. He's still has a lot of upside. He's still getting you some targets. Like Week 8, I believe he left with some sort of injury in that game, but he's still getting you like 5, 10 targets. Just hasn't been able to do anything with them. He's just been a lot of short gains, but this Titans defense is prone to giving up some big plays. So if there was a week, it could probably be this week. Trey Burton has been a lot bigger piece of that offense. Last few weeks, he has 2 rushing touchdowns in his last 3 games. There's no Jack Doyle tonight, so Burton is going to step up and be that be one of the primary tight ends. Him and Mo Alley Cox, although he's dealing with some sort of injury, although he practiced fully, should be good to go. But they've been giving Trey Burton a lot of work, so I like him a bit. I think Wilkins is the guy that I would consider in that running back committee, just because it seems like he's still a safe bet to get you at least double-digit carries. He can be a factor in the red zone. It's so going to be tough to pick which one of them they give the ball to in the red zone and goal line. But coming off of a couple of weeks where they really did rely on him and he got more carries than the other 2 running backs, and the fact that he's cheaper, then I think Wilkins looks interesting. And then Humphries is still out on the Titans, so you're going to see some more work you're going to see Corey Davis, although he had no catches last week. He's going to be a little bit bigger piece. You're going to see probably Frisker get a couple more targets with no Humphries. He's been fine the last few weeks with 6, 3, 2, and 9 targets. 2,200, I think he looks okay. Also missing their third tight end tonight in Pruitt. So down to 2 guys at tight end. You're gonna be somewhat safe in Frisker getting you like 40% or maybe 30-40% of snaps. And then Khalif Raymond is going to be that third wide receiver. He doesn't have a ton of upside. Maybe he can catch you 1 or 2 balls, but probably going to hope and pray that he can get you a long touchdown. Both kickers, I guess, are in play as well. I think the Titans kicker might be a little bit better, but I think both are similar. Both are similarly priced. You get a little bit of a cheaper price tag on Gostkowski if you needed a bit of a savings. And then I don't really see myself going with anybody else. I think with no Humphries, maybe like Hollister will get you some snaps, but it's just going to be hoping and praying that he's involved because the Titans offense is so concentrated around A.J. Brown and Derrick Henry that no other player really gets that much work. Like even last week when Humphries was out, they still didn't play that many other guys at receiver. It was really A.J. Brown, and then they just kind of relied on Derrick Henry, but A.J. Brown has just been the guy in terms of wide receiver. He played 82%. Corey Davis also played 78%, and then he got 25 and 24 for the other 2 wide receivers. So really just pick between Davis and Brown. And for me, it's going to be Corey Davis it's going to be A.J. Brown like it always is. All right, so with all that being said, let's look at some potential bills that we can roll out tonight. I think a one play I captain is probably going to tends to be A.J. Brown, just with all the upside that he presents. He can just break off a 50, 60, 70-yard touchdown after catching a screen pass. He can go over the top. He's just super talented. Makes a lot of sense to pair with Tannehill, because if Brown has a big game, Tannehill's probably going to have a decent game at least. I think Henry might be a fade for me tonight, just because I respect the Colts defense, especially their front 7. I would probably like to get to Phillip Rivers at 98. And then probably we'll go Phillip Rivers with T.Y., even though he's been so bad this season. I just think out of Pittman, Hilton, and then Zach Pascal. I think it's still safe to assume that T.Y. Hilton still has the highest upside. Pascal is even more expensive than Hilton, so definitely go with Hilton. And then I do like Wilkins just because he can. I think he's going to be a bigger piece in that offense like he has the last couple weeks, and he's the cheapest running back, although he's been getting the most work the last 2 weeks. And then with 2,200 left, you could play Frisker, or you could, with Michael Harris, not really a factor. Haven't heard of his name, to be honest, but with Hilton coming back, I don't think he'll get you much work, but probably could go Frisker and just roll with something like this. If you want to try to get one of the kickers in there, I think you probably like Gostkowski or Blankenship. Pretty nice last name. Well, Gostkowski at 3,800. I still maybe want to go Tannehill at captain and go A.J. Brown. You're down to 6,300 left. Probably still consider playing like the cheap running back in Wilkins at 5,400. I think Trey Burton is also interesting just because Philip Rivers loves to throw to his tight ends. And Burton's going to get a lot more snaps because Jack Doyle has been playing like 40+% of the snaps. Is probably going to go to like Trey Burton. And then 8,000 left. Maybe play Corey Davis, and you kind of stack Tannehill with both his weapons, and you got some pieces in the Colts, which Wilkins and Burton, two guys that might not get crazy amount of ownership, but definitely have some upside. Could even go upgrade from Gostkowski to Blankenship if you wanted to, but both guys are similar. And then I don't see another captain play. I think for me it's going to be Tannehill or A.J. Brown. I don't think I would want to play like Davis at captain or Jonnu Smith at captain. Smith, his targets have come way down. He has 2 targets in 3 or 4 weeks. Like he's been getting out targeted by Frisker, so with a huge price difference, I think I'd rather take a shot on Frisker if I was pressed for salary. So I think that's kind of it for me. Maybe we'll look at one with going really cheap at captain with like a Wilkins or a T.Y. Hilton, but see if we play Wilkins at captain, we could get you Henry, get you Philip Rivers, get you maybe even Derrick Henry if you wanted to, but definitely A.J. Brown. And then you have 5,200 left. You could go with like T.Y. Hilton and Pittman. Looks okay. Nothing super crazy about something like that. But if you wanted to get one of the kickers in, definitely I don't think I'll play one of the defenses. I think it's going to be a somewhat high-scoring game, but I just think both quarterbacks have done a pretty good job this season with limiting turnovers. Rivers is a bit more erratic, so you could consider playing the Colts defense. The Titans defense, but the Titans defense isn't that good in terms of getting fantasy points. So for me, I'm definitely going to probably go with A.J. Brown at captain. I think the core 4 for me are Brown, Tannehill, probably Philip Rivers, and I think that you're going to see a decent game out of Jordan Wilkins. So these 4 are guys I will probably build around and then go with, you got some value plays with the kickers. You have Frisker if you want to go cheap, or go with Jack Doyle. Not Jack Doyle, go with Trey Burton. So that's it for the Draftkings side. Let's go over to Fanduel and see if their pricing is different. All right, over on Fanduel, they have the Titans priced up. They're the 3 highest priced players on the slate: Tannehill, Henry, and A.J. Brown. Like I think it should be. Then you have Philip Rivers at 12.5, which will be pretty nice to get to. Jonathan Taylor, who I think is a fade. I think Taylor is a fade just because his workload has come way down. The price tag is still way up. FanDuel has Jordan Wilkins priced up, though, so it's going to be tough for me to even recommend him at 10.5. You could look at the third running back in Hines at 8,500 on FanDuel. But FanDuel is going to be a little bit different with the way the pricing is. Mo Alley-Cox is 7K, so that looks interesting. No Jack Doyle tonight, so we'll see where they have Trey Burton priced at. He's at 75, so he looks somewhat interesting as well. But the 2 guys I definitely have are Tannehill and A.J. Brown. Maybe play Brown at captain or Tannehill at captain. Doesn't really matter. But plugging in those 2 leaves you at 96.67. You play Philip Rivers, you're down to 82.50. And then you could kind of get interesting. Both kickers are 9K, so they're somewhat more expensive. Maybe go with one of the kickers or go with T.Y. Hilton, although he's been super disappointing and frustrating. Maybe people will stop playing him tonight, and he actually has a decent game. But Hilton at 95, and then you could play Mo Alley Cox if you wanted to. You got 3 Colts in there. You got 2 Titans. Looks okay. Maybe if you wanted to even play Hines is 8,500. He's been getting a decent amount of work, but it's been kind of last week he's been playing mainly third down situations and passing situations. It's gonna be a bit tough for me to trust, but maybe instead of playing Hilton, we could play Trey Burton because we know Phillip Rivers loves the tight ends. We'll definitely get a bump with no Jack Doyle tonight. And then with $9,000 left, maybe consider one of the kickers or double stack tight ends. That would be super interesting and super different. But yeah, Fanduel is going to be a bit tricky tonight, I think. But at least the 3 guys that you definitely want, I think, are both quarterbacks and A.J. Brown. And then there's a lot of ways to go with your remaining 2 spots. But that's it for me. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure you hit the like on it. And best of luck tonight.